The story begins with two kids standing in the middle of a downtown street, chatting about a wild fight between two heroes. At that same moment, a van loaded with cash tears down the road, hijacked and out of control. The kids try to run, but they're stuck. Just as the van gets too close, Queen Maeve shows up and stops it cold. She wrecks the hijackers with some help from Homelander. Reporters flood the scene, eating it up, pointing out how both heroes never miss a chance to hog the spotlight. Homelander even stops mid-chaos to pose for pics with fans. Across town, Huey Campbell works his boring shift at Bryman Audio. He tries to talk to his manager, but gets ignored like a nobody. Later, he meets his girlfriend Robin for lunch. As they walk, she brings up his raise. Huey cracks a joke, comparing himself to Homelander. They chat about moving in together. Then, out of nowhere, it all flips. A-Train blasts through at full speed. Robin's body explodes on impact, blood and bone flying. Huey stands there frozen, holding her severed hands. A-Train, covered in blood, mumbles something and bolts, red duffel bag swinging. In Iowa, Starlight steps up for her audition to join the Seven. She shows off her power. Back in New York, Huey stares at the screen, watching A-Train make a fake-ass statement, blaming Robin for getting in the way. Vought sends a rep to Huey, offering a fat pile of cash to keep his mouth shut. Huey asks for time, picturing himself knocking the guy out cold. Starlight gets a call. She's in. She and her mom celebrate like it's a dream come true. Huey, still shaken, tries to build a case against A-Train. His dad shuts it down, tells him to take the money and move on. Huey refuses. Vought throws a fancy shareholder event. The Deep brings out Starlight as the new member, says Lamplighter is out. They announce a plan to stick a hero in every city. At the Seven's HQ, the Deep shows Starlight around. She tells him she used to look up to him. He twists that into something ugly, drops his pants, and forces himself on her. He throws threats, says he's second in command and will wreck her career if she talks. At work, Huey watches the news. A man named Billy Butcher walks up, says he's with the FBI, and needs a word. Billy says heroes cause chaos all the time, but the public eats it up. He drags Huey to a hidden bar where heroes act like animals. There, Billy shows footage of A-Train laughing about Robin. He hands Huey a police report proving there was no emergency that day. Then he tells Huey to take Vought's deal but demand A-Train show up in person. The plan is to bug the tower. Huey isn't sure. At Vought, Madeline Stillwell meets the mayor of Baltimore. She offers Nubian Prince for a fat price. The mayor pushes back and drops a hint about something called Compound V. Madeline brushes it off, says she'll take her offer elsewhere. At the park, Starlight sits with her thoughts. She tries to talk to her mom but can't find the words. Huey's nearby. They sit in silence, then start talking. They open up, broken and confused. Starlight says her dream's turning into a nightmare. Huey quietly remembers Robin. Later, Huey goes back to Billy. He's in. He calls Vought and agrees to the deal, asking for A-Train to show. At the tower, Homelander calls a meeting. The Deep mocks Starlight, but she doesn't flinch and says she belongs. Homelander asks for updates on their so-called hero work. Billy brings Huey to the tower, explains how to sneak in the bug. Huey's shaking but makes it past security. He meets A-Train, plants the device, but Translucent sees it. Huey signs the papers and leaves, bug planted. Billy drops him at work, says he did good. Madeline calls the mayor again. She drops the price and demands silence about Compound V. Back at Huey's job, Translucent shows up furious. He starts threatening him, throws punches. Billy crashes in, slams into Translucent with his car. They brawl. Huey panics, then grabs a wire and fries Translucent with a jolt of electricity. Up in the sky, Steve and his son sit on a plane. They spot Homelander outside the window. The boy thinks he's their friend. Without warning, Homelander lights up the plane with his heat vision. The sky turns red, and the plane drops. Nobody survives. Billy and Huey stay on the run after the fight with Translucent. They stash his body in the trunk only to find out he's still breathing. Huey feels sick about it and wants to let him go, but Billy keeps pushing him to stay locked in on revenge for Robin. Billy takes Huey to see Frenchie, even though he still owes him cash. Frenchie freaks when he sees Translucent, already stressed that Homelander might sniff them out. While that's happening, A-Train visits a hospital for a live stream. The kid he meets doesn't care, says he wanted Translucent instead. A-Train keeps showing off his speed but fails to impress. At Seven Tower, Stillwell and Ashley go back and forth about Translucent going off the radar. Ashley says he's nowhere in the building. Starlight tries to say hi to Black Noir, but he just stares ahead. Ashley assigns her to patrol with the Deep. She's clearly not into it. Billy, Frenchie, and Huey lock Translucent in an electrified cage under an old restaurant. Frenchie's pissed he's caught up in this mess. He explains that Translucent's skin is impossible to pierce, which makes killing him a serious pain. Huey doesn't like hearing that murder is even on the table. Over at Vought, Homelander checks in with Stillwell about Translucent. She brushes it off and tells him to keep his nose out. They also bring up the mayor of Baltimore. Homelander admits he heard the guy threaten her over Compound V. Stillwell tells him to keep his mouth shut. Huey keeps missing calls from his dad. When they finally talk, his dad is clearly scared and wants him to come home. Elsewhere, Homelander finds the Deep and tells him to stop bringing up the plane incident with Stillwell. The Deep folds fast and agrees. Frenchie starts working on something to break through Translucent's armor. He makes a special bullet using similar material. Billy fires it, but it just bounces off. Translucent starts running his mouth again. Sure, the Seven will find him. What they don't realize is that the shot messed with the foil shielding, letting Vought trace his location. Stillwell sends a crew to scan the whole area. Starlight and the Deep hit the docks for patrol. The Deep whines about low-level jobs. Starlight snaps, brings up what he did, and lets him know he's just a bottom feeder in the Seven. They catch smugglers hiding pills inside Homelander toys. Vought flips the whole bust into a press show, which annoys Starlight even more. Later, Billy meets CIA Deputy Director Susan Raynor. He wants access to top-secret files on supers, especially Translucent. He straight up says he plans to kill him. Raynor shuts him down and says the info is buried deep. The air between them turns cold. Huey tries to connect with Translucent, brings up Robin and A-Train. Frenchie sees a weird truck nearby and gets twitchy, but it rolls off without causing trouble. Vaught's team checks the area but leaves empty-handed. At a Vote fundraiser, Stillwell chats with a senator who's still unsure about supers joining the military. He clearly doesn't trust Homelander and thinks Stillwell has too much power. Later that night, Starlight breaks up an attempted assault in a park. She beats the men without realizing someone's filming the whole thing. Next day, Frenchie still can't crack Translucent. He offers Huey some drugs to calm his nerves, but Huey turns them down. Frenchie opens up a bit, talks about his past building weapons to kill supers. Somewhere else, the same senator gets tricked into sleeping with a shapeshifter called Doppelganger, who takes photos for blackmail. Ashley corners Starlight over the park fight video. She tells her it's a legal mess now that her identity is out. Later, Stillwell uses the blackmail shots of the senator to force his support for letting supers into national defense. Meanwhile, Homelander gets more anxious about Translucent and leans on a crime analytics worker to share info. She finally tells him the last known signal location. Frenchie figures out the weak point. Translucent's skin might be bulletproof, but his guts are still human. They knock him out and slide a bomb inside him. Translucent freaks out and spills about A-Train's girlfriend, Popclaw. Frenchie warns using the bomb might bring Homelander. Right then, Homelander shows up in the area, and Billy triggers an explosion elsewhere to pull him away. In the basement, Translucent breaks out of the cage. Huey blocks the exit, frozen. Billy watches from a corner as Huey hits the detonator. Translucent explodes, leaving nothing but chunks across the walls. Huey stands in shock, covered in blood, while the mess of what used to be Translucent clings to the air. He scrubs himself clean. Billy handles what's left of the body, with Frenchie tossing Huey's clothes into the flames. They both make a silent promise to sort out the chaos they've just kicked off. Frenchie offers to go with Huey to grab fresh clothes from home. At Seven Tower, Starlight sits down with Madeline Stillwell and her media crew. They drop the bomb. The date rape victim saw Starlight's video on YouTube and came forward. It sparks a storm of praise and media buzz. They roll out a new uniform, skin-tight and shiny, made to grab attention. Starlight doesn't budge. It doesn't fit who she is. Stillwell lays it out. Wear it, or she's out of the Seven. Back at home, Huey stares at the junk he once worshipped. Suit posters, action figures, branded gear. His stomach turns. He tears it all down in a fit of rage until a photo of Robin freezes him in place. His dad shows up, spots the packed bag, and starts grilling. Tempers boil, words get sharp, and Huey storms out with Frenchie, muttering an apology on the way out. At the juvenile center, Billy shows up unannounced to see Mother's Milk. MM is stunned. Billy cuts straight to it. They need him back. MM's got a steady gig helping troubled kids, feels like he's doing real work. But Billy drops the truth. Translucent's dead. And the target's bigger now. The Seven. Vought. It's enough to drag MM back in. Homelander starts to think the worst. Translucent's tracker is dead, and maybe he is too. Stillwell mocks the idea, saying his diamond skin should save him. She slides Homelander a stack of talking points for the military pitch. He brushes them off, sure he can sell himself without help. In a beat-up box van, Billy, MM, Frenchie, and Huey camp outside Popclaw's building. The plan's simple. Get inside, fake an internet upgrade, tap her devices, and bail. Huey sets it up smooth. Webcam, camera feed, all wired back to the van. On the way out, Huey slams into A-Train, but the speedster doesn't recognize him. Huey barely hides his shock. Inside Seven Tower, Queen Maeve's training when Homelander calls. He's worked up about Translucent, but still swings by to take out a rooftop sniper with zero hesitation. Maeve stands by, letting him fire rounds into her chest to stage it like self-defense. She later talks him into showing up at A-Train's big race, though she clearly doesn't trust how unhinged he's become. In the van, the boys watch A-Train and Popclaw argue. A-Train's rattled. If he loses tomorrow's race, Stillwell kicks him out. He's tempted to juice up on Compound V. Popclaw brings up Robin, furious about being kept a secret. She wants their love public, but A-Train won't ask Stillwell. Billy figures it's time to swipe some of that compound V for Frenchie to test. Race day. The boys hit the stadium. Huey and MM talk about the kill. Huey admits it gave him a twisted high. MM warns him that buzz is the same rush A-Train chases. That hits Huey deep. Queen Maeve chats up a reporter, pushing for soups in the military, while Homelander throws shade, digging into why she ended things with him. In the locker room, Frenchie sneaks in. Huey keeps Starlight busy, but no compound V turns up. When Shockwave shows, A-Train vanishes and returns juiced. He blazes through the race, wins clean, or so it seems. Outside Popclaw's apartment, MM watches her stare down a vial of V. A-Train's smug attitude after the race pushes her over the edge. She shoots up and hits the weights hard. Her landlord, Alexi Lutz, shows up for rent. Popclaw seduces him, but things take a nasty turn when she crushes her skull during romance. Billy and Frenchie burst in, ready to use it as leverage. Elsewhere, Stillwell plays dirty. With help from Doppelganger, she traps Senator Calhoun. Doppelganger turns into a stunning woman, seduces him, then flips back into a man and snaps blackmail shots. Stillwell seals the deal. Calhoun now backs Soups in the military. Billy Butcher dreams of better days with his late wife, Becca. He remembers her trying to drag him to a concert, their happy laughs, and their dog bouncing around. Billy wakes up, heats up some breakfast, and watches an old CCTV clip dated January 24, 2012. In the footage, he sees a woman sitting in a park. Butcher meets Susan Rayner. He tells her he can block the Soups from joining the military. She doesn't give a damn. Billy drops photos of Popclaw and A-Train juicing up with Compound V. Rayner shrugs it off. No sample, no deal. She says she'll reward him if he gets proof. She also throws shade about not seeing Translucent lately, hinting that she knows Billy had something to do with it. Billy calls Popclaw. Nothing solid has come up, but they've been tailing the noodle shop for weeks. Popclaw spills that the Compound V stash is nearby, since A-Train always swings by there after his runs. Mother's Milk, Huey, and Frenchie stake out the noodle joint. They spot a worker picking up a dropped package and follow him into a back alley, ending up at a supermarket warehouse. Inside, they find stacks of boxes and, locked in a barred room, a girl quietly watching TV. They break her out, ignoring the men's warnings. She slaughters most of her captors like it's nothing. The last one shoots himself in the head. The Deep vents to his therapist, whining that he's useless and weak. The therapist talks him down and pumps him up, telling him he still matters in the 7. Butcher shows up as the boys search the warehouse. MM finds a tiny syringe of Compound V. They piece together that A-Train is the runner and the girl, Kimiko, is being pumped with it. MM loses it on Frenchie for letting her loose. Billy pulls Huey aside, asks about Starlight, and pushes him to go on the date and hack her phone. Stillwell talks damage control about Translucent. They agree to claim he's on a top-secret mission. She then gets a call. Plane hijacking over the Atlantic. She sends Homelander and Maeve, betting the government will cave if they save the passengers. Frenchie meets Cherie to gear up. She hands him a chemical called holophane to knock Kimiko out. She also admits she misses him. A-Train shows up at the warehouse, stunned to see his crew zipped up in body bags. At 7 Tower, the Deep pitches a new cause, dolphin abuse at Oceanland. Stillwell isn't feeling it since there's a big promo deal on the line, but he talks her into it. Later, A-Train grills Popclaw. She's the only one who knew about the Compound V. She swears she kept her mouth shut and rants about his post-race speech where he played single. A-Train tells her to pack up, time to vanish for a bit. Huey and Starlight go bowling. Huey keeps flashing back to killing Translucent. Playing it cool, he brings up Translucent. Starlight calls him a creep, but mentions he had a kid, shaking Huey even more. On the plane, Homelander and Maeve wipe out the hijackers. The passengers cheer. Then they reach the cockpit. One last terrorist has already killed the co-pilot. In the chaos, the pilot gets taken out too. Homelander fries the terrorist, and fries the plane controls by accident. Maeve suggests he fly the plane or carry people down. He says both ideas suck. He bails. Maeve begs him to at least save the kids. He says no witnesses. They both leave the passengers to die. The boys reach a nail salon where Kimiko has killed the Mamasan matron. A-Train shows up. The boys back off. MM gets nervous since a train saw him last week. They realize A-Train will find Kimiko fast, but Frenchie thinks she's trying to get home. He finds a subway schedule she left behind. MM says a postman friend tracked the V's source. They split up at the subway. Frenchie spots Kimiko in the back of a tech store watching TV. She's on edge, but he tries to gain her trust. A loud TV moment freaks her out and she bolts. On the date, Starlight shares her dating past. They laugh about old-school romances. She jokes about her powers scaring guys off. Huey's haunted by visions of Robin. When she heads to the restroom, he hacks her phone. Back at the subway, the boys regroup and argue. MM brings up Frenchie's mess with Lamplighter and Mallory. Billy drops a wild Spice Girls analogy to remind them they work better as a team. The Deep busts a dolphin out of Oceanland. He chats with it like it's a buddy, or more. On the way, cops show up. The dolphin flies through the windshield, splats on the road, and gets flattened by a truck. The boys finally track Kimiko. A-Train finds her first. They fight hard. A-Train starts winning. Butcher almost walks away until Frenchie gets the crowd to notice A-Train. To avoid being exposed, A-Train backs off. Kimiko slips away. Billy gasses her and Frenchie out cold. On a beach near the plane wreck, Maeve stares at the sea, crushed by the loss. Homelander hits the cameras with a fake sob story. He says the passengers didn't have to die, but the 7 weren't allowed to act soon enough. Stillwell watches as he demands they be given full military power. Popclaw stays hidden in Havana, Cuba, lighting up joints. A-Train shows up fast, dropping the news that Stillwell is cool with them going public, but only if Popclaw spills who she told about Compound V. She says she doesn't know their names, just remembers their faces. After saying he loves her, A-Train hits her with heavy doses of heroin. It kills her. At 7 Tower, A-Train tells Homelander that Popclaw's dead from a heroin overdose. Homelander brings up A-Train's use of Compound V, but A-Train swears he's clean now. He promises to track down Kimiko Miyashiro. Frenchie whips up food for Kimiko, trying to get her to talk. She stays silent, then snaps and charges at him, but the chains stop her. At the Believe Expo, Starlight and Huey hang out. She introduces him to her mom, who acts cold and questions if he works for Vought. Ezekiel shows up on stage. Mother's Milk and Butcher scope the place for cameras and guards. Butcher plays Huey a clip from a club where Ezekiel is messing around with other men. He wants Huey to use it as blackmail to squeeze info on Compound V. While Homelander gives a speech honoring the victims of Flight 37, Maeve gets pissed and leaves early. Homelander says they just do what they must, but Maeve doesn't fully buy into that anymore. Huey, MM, and Butcher have a deep conversation about belief and truth. Meanwhile, Starlight questions her mom about lying during the teen session. She feels off. Either the festival changed, or she did. Huey asks her for a special pass to meet Ezekiel. She says she can. Homelander lands at the event, wanting to see Madeline, but Ashley tells him she's not around. He takes off in a flash, storms in on Madeline, grilling her about the speech he gave. She admits it's crafted to get the 7 into the military. That rubs Homelander the wrong way, especially since he sees her baby son as a distraction. Butcher visits Rachel, his wife's sister, and loses it when he sees the headstone for Rebecca. He's furious they did that without finding her body. Rachel says their mom just needed a place to feel close to her. Butcher doesn't take it well. Rachel reminds him they all miss Rebecca. Somewhere else, A-Train, torn up over Popclaw, watches one of her old films, then switches to their romance tape. He's hit with shock when it cuts to footage of her killing her landlord. He sees Butcher and Frenchie in it, blackmailing her. He screenshots Frenchie's face and takes it to Vought's crime division. They pull up dirt. Guy's got a dozen fake names and 34 addresses. A-Train tells Trevor, the tech guy, to stay out of it. At Ezekiel's event, Homelander asks how Huey knows Starlight. During a public baptism, Homelander dunks Huey under for a little too long, sending a silent message. After he leaves, Huey tries to show Ezekiel the blackmail video, but his phone's waterlogged and dead. Huey fakes being one of Ezekiel's partners from that night. Ezekiel tries to choke him, but backs off when Huey says there's a video ready to drop. Ezekiel cracks and gives up everything he knows about Compound V. Huey fills in MM, who then updates Butcher, who just got done smashing Rebecca's headstone with a sledgehammer. Homelander wraps up the festival with a big speech. Stillwell watches from 7 Tower and isn't thrilled. He goes off script, says he answers to a higher power, and won't wait on Congress to protect the country. Wrecked by guilt from Flight 37, Maeve visits her ex, Elena. She breaks down, says she can't keep carrying the weight, and has started drinking again. When she tries to kiss Elena, she gets rejected, realizes it was a mistake, and leaves in a hurry. Cherie calls Frenchie, says Black Noir is right outside her place. Frenchie asks which one, and she says probably all of them. At the hospital, MM and Butcher wait for the Compound V shipment. Frenchie calls, says he's been spotted and has to bail. Butcher tells him to ditch Kimiko, but Frenchie hesitates, scared of what A-Train and Black Noir will do if they find her. Starlight says she doesn't want to go on stage, but her mom pushes, saying everyone's watching. Frenchie speaks to Kimiko, sees she's scared to be left behind. He unlocks her chains, and she bolts. On stage, Starlight reads the teleprompter but grows irritated, stops the music, and says she doesn't believe the speech. Stillwell and the Deep watch from 7 Tower, stunned. She speaks out about being sexually assaulted but leaves out the name. Inside the hospital, Butcher and MM find newborns hooked up to Compound V. One baby's eyes glow like Homelander's. They realize soups aren't born. They're made in labs. Later, Starlight and Huey argue. She says she's hurt he used her to reach Ezekiel. Huey apologizes, says he's just trying to cope after his girlfriend's death. Butcher grabs some Compound V from the IV bag. Armed men storm in, but Billy grabs the baby, who uses his laser eyes to fry the attackers. Elsewhere, Homelander watches Stillwell through a wall. She spots him on CCTV, invites him in, teases him, then tells him off for the speech. She lets him rest on the couch and lets him suckle her breast. On the run, Frenchie bumps into Black Noir, but Kimiko comes in blazing. They fight, and Black Noir ends up winning, tearing Kimiko apart. A flashy video from Vault Industries plays, trying to show the Seven as heroes helping the poor. Courtney watches it and scoffs, saying the real goal is to win military approval, not public sympathy. Huey and Starlight show up at a local pub quiz. Huey's old buddy Anthony joins them and starts spilling stories from Huey's childhood. Huey turns red as Starlight laughs along. Anthony admits he's worried about Huey since Robin's death, but Huey brushes it off, saying he just wanted a fresh start. Mother's Milk brings the group solid intel about Compound V. He says a company called Samaritan's Embrace, funded by Vault, is pushing it into hospitals. The truth hits hard. No one is born a soupy. Every single one is made by injecting babies with Compound V. Butcher nods, thinking they've got enough dirt to bring to Raynor. At Seven Tower, Starlight hears Ashley Barrett getting kicked out after Starlight's breakdown at the Believe Expo. Ashley admits she's the one who sent her there, hoping to appeal to certain crowds. Starlight later confronts Stillwell. Stillwell loses it, throwing shade about her following Queen Maeve's weak example. But Starlight stands tall, saying she wants to help people her way. Stillwell thinks about firing her, but Starlight reminds her that it'd backfire big time, especially after she spoke out about her assault. She also calls out Stillwell for covering the Deep and hints there are more victims. With no wiggle room, Stillwell backs off. Somewhere else, the Deep and A-Train film scenes for the promo video. When asked about Popclaw, A-Train straight up denies any recent contact. Starlight runs into Queen Maeve at the tower. She tells Maeve she used to be a fan and even knew her book by heart, but now figures the whole thing was cooked up by marketing. Frenchie chats with Mother's Milk about Kimiko. He brings up using a soup called Mesmer, who can read minds, to dig into her past. MM is unsure, but in the end, agrees to give it a shot. Butcher and Huey hit up a support group called ACDS, packed with people whose lives got wrecked by soups. Butcher uses this to make Huey think twice about Starlight and soups in general. Stillwell pulls the Deep aside and tells him he's being benched from the Seven for now. She tells him to make a public apology before more stories come out. The Deep's pissed, but plays along, apologizing publicly and calling the Starlight incident a big misunderstanding. Mother's Milk meets Mesmer at a Comic-Con, where the washed-up Soupe signs merch. Mesmer uses his powers to make cash off insider trading. MM lets Mesmer scan his memories, showing who he really is. Then he takes him to see his daughter, Cleo. It's emotional. Cleo barely remembers him. Mesmer agrees to help in exchange for supervised monthly visits. Butcher tells Huey about his wife, revealing Homelander raped her. She vanished 8 years ago. No one knows if she's dead or ended her life. Butcher lays it out, reminding Huey who the real enemy is. Homelander vents to Stillwell, pissed about a fake scene showing his made-up childhood home. Stillwell sweet-talks and seduces him, convincing him to finish the shoot. Mesmer tries to read Kimiko's mind, but she snaps and breaks his wrist. He wants out, but MM talks him into staying. Butcher tracks MM's phone, proving he doesn't trust any lies. Maeve is filming her promo bit when Elena shows up. Maeve tries to speak privately, but hidden cameras keep rolling. Elena presses her about not replying to her messages. Maeve brushes it off like it was just a fling, but Elena sees straight through it. At Mesmer's place, Butcher demands they kill him. MM shuts that down. Mesmer finally breaks through Kimiko's mind. He says she was used as a terrorist before capture. Frenchie's shocked and doesn't want to believe it. Huey wonders why Vought would give terrorists Compound V. Butcher figures it out. Vought's making villains to force the Seven into military contracts. Kimiko then shares her full story. She lost her parents, got kidnapped with her brother, and was forced into war as a kid. Now she wants to find her brother. Butcher takes the evidence to Raynor, handing her Compound V. He asks for a salary, office, and Homelander's prosecution. Raynor agrees to most, but won't touch Homelander, scared of the fallout. Frenchie tells Kimiko he'll take her to the airport if she wants, but she grabs his hand and stays. Butcher comes back, saying Raynor bailed. He's ready to go after Vought on their own. Later, Mesmer tries to sell out the group to Homelander, showing him hidden pics of Huey and the others. He wants a favor back, but Homelander walks off without promising a thing. At a bar, Huey and Starlight talk about leaving New York. They kiss, but Butcher ruins the moment, showing up and dropping Translucent's name. It rattles Huey, and things between him and Starlight get tense. In a flashback from 8 years ago, Butcher and his wife, Becca, show up at Vought International's Christmas party. Homelander thanks Becca for handling his Twitter takeover, which clearly pisses off Billy. In the present, Butcher watches from a distance as Huey meets up with Starlight at a hotel. At the hotel, Huey and Starlight have a romance. Afterward, Starlight asks why they're not at his place. Huey admits he feels embarrassed about her meeting his dad, Hugh. He also shares that he quit his job after Robin died. The Deep checks into an apartment in Sandusky as ordered by Stillwell. He expects to fight crime, but quickly finds out the town's too damn quiet. Bored out of his mind, he starts writing his memoir, calling it Deeper, a memoir. On the track, A-Train's coach tells him to stop using Compound V. His body's taking a serious hit, bone density's dropping, and his vitals are a mess. A-Train then gets a message from Homelander, asking him to come to 7 Tower. Once he shows up, Homelander tears into the 7, saying they've been sloppy and unreliable. He throws out a photo of Huey, accusing him of being behind Translucent's death and blackmailing Mesmer, Ezekiel, and Popclaw. A-Train doesn't recognize Huey until the shot zooms out, showing the moment they shook hands in that same room. Homelander blames Huey for coming after them since Robin died. He also starts eyeing Starlight with suspicion, thinking she might be helping the boys. Maeve steps in, calms him down, and promises to keep Starlight in check. Huey says what the boys are doing with Vought needs to stop. Butcher makes him admit it's because of Starlight. Billy snaps when Huey brings up Becca. Then Huey gets a call from A-Train, who threatens his dad. The boys realize Mesmer ratted them out. At his place, A-Train mocks Huey for once being a fan of the 7. He laughs at him for coming alone. But Huey trades a vial of Compound V to free his father. Things get heated fast. A-Train's still pissed about Popclaw and calls Robin's death an accident, while saying Huey blackmailed Popclaw on purpose. Suddenly, Kimiko shows up and smashes A-Train's leg with a crowbar. Huey throws out a line saying it would have been stupid to come alone. They leave A-Train on the floor, leg shattered. At home, Monique and Mother's Milk argue about his involvement with Butcher. In the end, she agrees to leave for a safe place. Stillwell ends a call with the senator, telling Homelander they're 3 votes away from getting the 7 into the military. Homelander brings up Becca Butcher, saying she's missing and presumed dead. He asks what happened. Stillwell claims Becca probably just quit. At a subway station, Butcher corners a terrified Mesmer. Mesmer begs, saying he only helped Homelander out of fear. Butcher beats him down and lets Mesmer read his mind. Mesmer offers to help find Becca, but Butcher smashes his head into a sink repeatedly, killing him. In a flashback, CIA agent Grace Mallory shows Butcher footage of Becca walking into Homelander's office and leaving 3 hours later, looking wrecked. That moment sparks the beginning of the boys. Starlight gets a call from Huey, but ignores it when Maeve asks who it is. Maeve opens up about Elena, saying, "Caring about people makes you weak." She says the only way to be bulletproof is to cut everyone loose. Frenchie looks for a safe spot to hide for the night. Huey tries to reach Starlight. Butcher meets Huey's dad and MM's daughter, but Monique slaps him across the face. MM argues with Butcher, saying he should have taken the deal with Raynor. He begs him to take it now for the sake of his family. Homelander confronts Jonah Vogelbaum, an ex-Vought scientist, about Becca. Jonah says Becca came to Stillwell pregnant with Homelander's kid. Homelander is stunned, thinking he couldn't have children. Jonah reveals both Becca and the baby died during delivery from blood loss. He tells Homelander that creating him was his biggest mistake. Raynor and the CIA show up at Frenchie's hideout. She promises protection for MM's family and the rest of the boys. Monique tells MM she never wants to see him again. He says goodbye to his kid. Even though Homelander is out of the picture, Butcher agrees to Raynor's deal and hands over the Compound V. Starlight calls Huey, upset, and asks to meet. Raynor tells Stillwell Vought's been exposed for lying about how soups are made. Stillwell plays dumb, but freezes when Raynor demands she pull the military deal. Raynor says either they go back to being superheroes or the CIA takes them down publicly. She's pulled from the meeting to view SEAL team footage, ending with a soup terrorist, Naqib, blowing up their team and walking off like nothing happened. Huey meets Starlight in the park. Starlight accuses him of killing Translucent and using her to get revenge on A-Train. She grabs him, trying to turn him in. Huey panics, thinking they'll kill him, but Starlight says Vought would drag the trial out. Huey then drops the truth about Compound V. Out of nowhere, Billy shoots Starlight in the chest twice with a sniper rifle, giving Huey a chance to run. In Syria, U.S. troops sneak toward a drug warehouse at night when Homelander lands out of nowhere. He tells the soldiers to relax, he'll handle the search alone. Inside, he burns through the armed men with his laser eyes and walks out holding a vial of Compound V. Later, at a meeting, Stillwell faces Secretary of Defense Robert Singer. He pushes her about how a Syrian gang got their hands on Vought's compound. Stillwell dodges the question, but admits the truth. Only Compound V can match the power of the soups. Raynor tells Butcher over the phone that the CIA is keeping Compound V under wraps to keep Vought calm. Mother's Milk tries to take the story to the press but gets shut down. Raynor confirms the boys are now wanted. Frenchie and MM plan to split up, but Butcher's already cooking up another plan. Starlight goes home and starts thinking about her dad. She asks her mom about Compound V. Her mom pretends not to know at first, but finally cracks, saying Vought promised Starlight an amazing life through the experiments. Starlight loses it, furious she never got to choose her path. Her mom admits that her dad left because he couldn't live with what they'd done. The Deep hangs out with Jeff, downing drinks. He asks about his next move, but Jeff gently says Vought wants him to stay in Sandusky. Marketing already rolled out a new campaign for it. Butcher introduces Huey to Grace Mallory, the original founder of the Boys. He tells her the gang's back together, but Grace refuses to help. Butcher says she owes him. Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM get ambushed in their motel by commandos. Kimiko tries to fight back, but gets hit with a tranquilizer. All three get tossed into a van. Grace explains why she can't help. She lost her grandkids when Lamplighter torched them. She regrets ever training Butcher and turning him loose on Homelander. Billy begs, so she gives him something. Stillwell and Homelander have a twisted bond, and she might know his weak spot. Billy agrees to never return. A-Train leaves the hospital and goes shopping, but gets profiled by a security guard. The guard doesn't believe he's A-Train, until bystanders start filming and prove him wrong. Billy and Huey pass the motel. Billy says the boys are gone, taken by a Black Ops unit, likely under Vought. Huey wants to save them, but Billy says MM and Frenchie would want them to finish the mission. Huey realizes Billy only cares about Homelander, agreeing that Grace was right about him. Billy leaves Huey behind. The Deep, crushed by Vought's decision, shaves his head and body, cursing himself for being a fool. Huey finds Starlight at a nearly empty church listening to the choir. He tells her the truth, using the Nakib story as proof. He asks her to use her access to find him. She refuses at first, but Huey says Vought's doing terrible things, and it's her job to stop them. He admits he was falling apart until she took him bowling. A-Train pulls a locomotive like a sled dog. Nathan shows up, telling him to rest. A-Train says he's healed. Nathan figures he's using Compound V again. A-Train denies it. Nathan doesn't buy it and walks away. At a Vought fundraiser, Black Noir plays piano. CEO Stan Edgar shows up, gives Stillwell a bonus, and promotes her. He wants her close as he plans to move to Belize. Maeve finds Starlight puking in the bathroom. She admits her arm never healed right, confirming Vought didn't make up the injury story. Maeve says she once wanted to do good too, but Vought twisted her. She tells Starlight to stay the annoying do-gooder she is. Starlight takes that to heart and decides to help Huey and the others. Homelander confronts Stillwell after learning the truth from Vogelbaum. He says he planned for Nakib to appear to scare Congress into letting Supes into the military. He and A-Train juiced up terrorists using Compound V. Stillwell is stunned. Homelander says now only the Seven can fight these threats. Later, Stillwell takes him to her office. They make love, but Homelander finishes quickly and says sorry. In the cage, Frenchie asks MM why he never mentioned having a daughter. MM says he wanted her to stay clean, but now he may never see her again. Frenchie worries about Kimiko, and MM tries to comfort him. Stillwell tells Homelander that Edgar offered her his job. Homelander wants to know if she'll still be around daily. She promises no more secrets. She says she kept quiet about his kid to protect him from the pain. Back at the motel, Huey gets caught by the commandos and thrown in the cage with Frenchie and MM. They ask where Butcher is. Huey says Butcher went for Homelander and he came to break them out. Frenchie thinks he's crazy until Huey shows he smuggled a wire in his retainer. Frenchie picks the lock. They escape and take down the guards. Stillwell returns home looking for her son and the nanny, but finds Butcher waiting in the dark. Butcher asks about Homelander's weakness. She denies he has one. Billy says she is his weakness. She looks shocked. The boys find Kimiko strapped to a hospital bed. Guards start shooting. Frenchie takes a bullet to the shoulder. He passes the gun to Huey. MM frees Kimiko, but she's weak. Huey runs out of bullets. They're pinned down. Suddenly, a blinding light wipes out the attackers. Starlight shows up to help them escape. A-Train blocks their path. Huey stays behind with Starlight while the others run. Starlight tries using her power, but A-Train still outruns them. He admits he killed Popclaw, but blames Huey. As he lunges, A-Train collapses with a heart attack. Huey tries to save him, but Starlight takes over. She tells Huey to run, warning that Vought will come after him. Butcher straps explosives to Stillwell, just as Homelander shows up with baby Teddy. He's sure Butcher won't hurt a child. He taunts Butcher about Becca. Butcher says he only wants to hurt him. Homelander wants proof that he killed Becca. Butcher goes quiet. Homelander presses Stillwell about Becca and the kid. He says he found out from Vogelbaum that Becca and the boy are alive, hidden by Vought. Stillwell admits she's scared of Homelander. He says he likes that. Then he kisses her and burns through her skull with his laser eyes. Butcher detonates the C4. Butcher wakes up on a lawn. Homelander stands over him. Butcher is stunned to see Becca alive with a child. Homelander says the kid doesn't know who he is. When told Homelander is his father, the boy's eyes glow red.